What sort of pressure do you feel being Thor in Thor, and how has that changed as you've played him and as you come here and throughout the whole process?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure with something that has existed for so many years before you were involved and already has a fan base. But you don't let that affect the way you, I guess, approach the film. I mean, for me, I approach it with, you do it as well as you can, whatever it is, whether it's a small film or whether it's something like this. But it's as exciting and daunting as each other.
How important is the relationship between Thor and Jane in the film? Is it something that sets up for later films?
Yeah, there's a bit of that, but also it's a big sort of breaking point in Thor's journey, learning some humility, and he starts out as a brash, cocky young warrior, and she certainly influences him in a different direction, and gives him a different angle to look at life from.
And jumping off of that actually a little bit, in your performance, how do you and the way you think about Thor, how do you balance his hubris with his heroism? And do you think one sort of exists in spite of the other?
I think they do, yeah, and I think it's this sort of ongoing battle, is taming that berserk kind of warrior that is in him, and certainly, that's a big part of in this film. He's still got to be that warrior. He still has to have those elements. That's what makes him Thor. But also, you don't want to watch a guy for too long on screen that is just, a jerk all the time. You can have moments of it. It's kind of cool and bad, but then it's like it just gets old. So, finding that balance, and then at times, sneaking a bit of it back in at the right time.
How do your mates back home treat you now? Do they treat you any better? Did they give you a hard time for being Thor? And did your brother try to hit you up for a part as like an Asgardian?
I have enough trouble getting myself a part, let alone my brother. But we both auditioned for it. Funny enough, I had an audition, didn't hear anything, and then he was in Australia and sent a tape across. And next minute I heard they were flying him over to meet Ken, and he was down to the last 4 guys. And I was like, what? But it was, he went in and did a great job, and it didn't end up happening. And then I got another phone call and was like, shit, what worked, what didn't? Tell me what he said, and got some advice, and here we are.
How is it working with film? What's that process like?
Brilliant. It was the most amount of character development and discussions and scenes and backstory that I've ever had. And he always had the attitude that we talk for hours, read books, read this, look at all these influences. Maybe it means nothing, or maybe it gives us one moment in the film, and it's worth it. And it's part of the fun for me is that research and speaking to as many people as you can, soaking up that stuff.
You mentioned the books on stage, not just the mythology books, but like relationship books.
Yeah.
What examples do you have?
I read Ken gave me Siddhartha, actually a Herman Hesse book, which about a man trying to find his place in life, and then going through all the temptations and Thor in effect was different to Siddhartha, but was a human being trying to find out his purpose and how he was going to go about his life, and that's the same thing. Ken said, look, this was just a great book which I love. It might give you something for the film, or it might just as a person, and it's certainly one of my favourite books.
Chris, this looks like a really physically demanding role. Tell me a little bit about the preparation that you went into just to get there.
Yep, it was a lot of protein shakes and chicken breast, and a lot of calories, a lot of food, a lot of working out, and try to get as much rest as you can. That's the other third of the equation. And I put on sort of 20 pounds, and then lost a lot of it since I've been shooting, just purely from not eating that amount.
Are there prosthetics involved too?
Well, the costume is a big, heavy, chainmail leather costume. But when it's me, it's me. It's not the fake arms on.
Who wins in a fight, Captain America or Thor? Who wins in a fight, you or Chris Evans?
He's here. We're going to sort that out later.
Did you have a particular favorite Thor story from when you were doing research in college?
I'm trying to get my brain now. The stuff with the Avengers I really liked. When there's one particular one where they approach him and he's Thor's sitting on a beach and like a party or something, there's fire. They're sitting around playing guitar, and Thor's there and drinking a beer, and up walk Shield and I think Iron Man, and they're like, supposedly you're a god and whatever, and we want you to join our team. He's like, I'm not joining nothing, and I think one of them says something like, I don't believe he's a god anyway, and Thor makes it rain and thunder and whatever, and they scurry away. I don't know, I enjoyed that moment.
Last question, Chris.
You had said in a previous interview that you had tried several different disciplines, fighting techniques, to come up with Thor's hammer swing and throw. What was that process, and what did you end up coming up with?
A lot of different stuff, looked at kind of, because it really is a very impractical kind of weapon in a sense. It's this big, huge head on it, tiny little handle. We talked about boxing a lot actually. I'd done a lot of Muay Thai for years, and Muay Thai is much more kind of on your toes and your legs or what have you involved. And whereas boxing is more sort of, I think, a grounded sort of technique. And we, you talk about Tyson, low to the ground, power through the legs, and a lot of that I think influenced Thor, and certainly big open shoulders and big shoulder movements. And, it becomes very gritty kind of street fighting sort of stuff at times, and happens to have a big old hammer in his hand as well.
And you really tried to steal one?
I did. No, not officially. I mean, I certainly talked to a lot of people. Like, can I take the hammer? Can I take the hammer? And someone said yes, and then I forgot to take it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.